I will call this meeting of the City of Bloomington Economic Development Commission meeting to order. It is Wednesday, January 13th, 2021 is when it is. And it is roughly 4:17 p.m. And I understand this has been properly posted and is being shared so the community can at least participate in a limited way, correct? Jane, I came out of the conversation, the tail end of that conversation.
That's correct. So we'll post the meeting link to the CATS recording on our Facebook page after the fact. So there's not live beyond, there will be viewing privileges.
Okay. So as we normally do, let's start the meeting by doing a roll call. I'd ask the commission members to introduce themselves first, the staff second, and any other individuals who have joined us to introduce themselves. So I will start. I'm Kurt Zorn. Jeff, you want to go ahead?
Jeff McKim.
Malcolm Webb.
I'm pointing to you, Kate.
Okay, Kate Rosenberger.
I'm pointing to you. And then staff.
Jane Cooper Smith.
Alex Crowley.
And Larry.
And Marnina Patrick.
Thanks. And then for our visitors.
I'm Amber Scobie with the Bloomington Housing Authority.
Hi, Amber.
Hi, Tyler Kolachnik with Heiss Miller.
Clark Greiner with the Bloomington Economic Development Corporation.
Jennifer Pearl with the Bloomington Economic Development Corporation.
Hi, Jen. How are you?
Good to see you.
And Chris Cashman with Heiss Miller is on as well.
Thanks, Chris. And I see that another commission member has joined us. Vanessa, you just want to introduce yourself? You got to unmute yourself. And that's it. Yeah, Vanessa.
I thought it was already off. Sorry about that. Yeah, Vanessa McClary, Commissioner. Thank you.
Okay. I think we did that successfully, so we'll move to the next item. The next item is consideration and approval of our minutes from our December 9th, 2020 meeting. So, members, what do you say?
Move we approve the minutes.
I'll second it, Vanessa.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will entertain I guess we have to do this individually, right, Jeff? You're the one who always says. So let's go individually. Jeff, what would you vote, a yay or nay?
Yay. Aye, yes.
Whatever. Something in the affirmative, correct?
Yes.
Malcolm, how about you?
I'll vote yes.
Kate? Kate, how about you?
Yes.
And Vanessa?
Yes.
And of course, I will vote yes also. So I think we have unanimity on that. Excellent. We're moving along. Under old business, I see nothing unless Jane or Alex corrects me.
No, I don't have anything for us.
Okay.
First of all, are we going to continue this in Old English or are we going to Modern English? I just want to make sure.
Any English possible. I was actually Zooming with some Chinese last night and we were speaking a little bit of Chinese. I was able to say shishi, so that was about it.
Just on old business, I just wanted to update, or maybe actually turn it over to Jen Pearl so she can update the commission on the status of the Economic Development Administration grant that was discussed in previous meetings. I think that would qualify as old business, and just wanted to provide an update for this group, if that's appropriate. Jen, you want to talk about it?
Oh, thank you so much, and it's great to see everyone. First, we wanted to thank the EDC again for your support as we were partnered with the City of Bloomington to apply for USEDA funds. USEDA is under the Department of Commerce, and they had CARES Act funding that you could apply for economic development projects. So we had spoken with you back in August, September regarding a comprehensive economic development strategy for the community. And the project that we were applying for funds for was to establish a Trades District Technology Center. That would essentially be new construction in the Trades District that would provide both space for growing technology companies as well as services to help our local tech companies grow. And they would essentially pick up where the mill leaves off. So essentially post-startup all the way up to mature companies, they would tie to regional innovation assets like IU, Crane, and really be supporting 40 to 50 tech companies in growing around the region. We applied in late September, and since that time, back in later December, we learned from EDA that we are receiving further consideration for the grant, and we are working to respond to them right now, both to try to see if we can, fill some funding gaps based on what they could potentially fund, or if we could rescale the project in some way. So we just wanted to say thank you for your support and give you an update.
Thanks, Jen. Appreciate that. Any questions or comments? All right.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Just congratulations.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And thank you to the City of Bloomington. They were the lead applicant on the project, and we just greatly appreciate all of the partnership.
All right. Let's move on to new business. And Jane, unless you have an objection, I suggest we flip the items as they're listed. Maybe talk about the election of officers and conflict of interest after our highly paid visitors.
Sure.
Right. I don't think Tyler necessarily wants to listen to all that. So I don't know how you want to. Do you want to do the RAD phase 1 first and then the EDC annual report? Is that what you want to do?
Yes, that's totally fine. And I'm going to make a quick pass to Larry. He's going to present the phase 2 of the inducement. Larry, how are you?
I'm well. In fact, actually, I was going to just allow, I don't know if Chris or Tyler want to give their presentation.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Do they have the ability to share their screens now? I think they have a PowerPoint for everybody.
I just have it on my computer, so I don't know if someone else can share it from the pack, but it's in, I know it starts on page 5 of the commissioner's packet.
Okay. I also made you co-host if that is.
I have to do it on my phone because our computer, some reason, I can't work at work. But Chris or Amber, are you?
I'm happy to have it too if you want to make me a co-host. It doesn't matter.
Oh, I've got it right here. I don't know what I was thinking. I will share it. Tell me which page you're starting on.
It is page 5.
Yeah, page 5 of the commissioner's packet. But I just want to say, it seems like just a year ago at this time that we were before you on a similar project. So happy anniversary. Yeah. Thank you for having us back. I'm just going to quickly kick it off because Chris will give some details about the bonds and the approval process. I know Amber is obviously well versed in the project to cover that, but just to give a little preview, there's some really nice per unit rehab happening with this project. The process here, for anyone that is new or doesn't remember from the prior couple issuances, but there was a project Limestone came before the first iteration of the RAD projects with Bloomington Housing Authority last year, in which the city has the ability to issue tax exempt bonds and act as a conduit where there's no liability, which Chris will expound upon on the city's behalf, and the bonds are payable solely from revenues of the project. But interesting developments since then happened with respect in connection with the Appropriations Act federally at the end of 2020. the important part about these multifamily housing bonds is they give access to tax credits, federal low-income housing tax credits. And essentially what happened was Congress made a change that fixed the credit rate on those. And so now a lot of projects, there's estimated to be about 5 billion additional equity dollars available in the market. But so there's, basically developers are getting 20 to 25% more from, or have the potential to, from private equity that the investors inject into these deals in exchange for the tax credit. So it's very exciting that that legislation occurred. And with that, maybe best place to start is Amber. Do you want to go over the project highlights?
Sure. If we could go to the next slide, I think it's a map showing the Crestmont community area. So if you're unfamiliar, Crestmont is south of 15th Street. It is east of Lindbergh, north of 12th Street, and west of Monroe. So that's the current public housing community and the boundaries of Crestmont. So on the northwest side of Bloomington, really close to Tri-North Middle School and the Ferguson Crestmont Boys and Girls Club. So the next page gives you a few more highlights. Crestmont was the first public housing community built in Bloomington, started in the mid-1960s and was finished in the late 60s. We have 196 apartments ranging from studios up to 5 bedrooms. We serve individuals and families. Again, located around our main office at 1007 Summit Street. We have lots of nearby amenities, community kitchen, the Ferguson Crestmont Boys and Girls Club, Head Start, a lot of those resources for our families. Again, it's currently owned and managed as a public housing community by the Housing Authority. We plan to still, be in the ownership structure within our nonprofit entity and continue to be the property management entity as well. So in a lot of ways for our residents, it will feel like the same people that they're interacting with, but at the end of the day, we'll be renovating all the units. And so the quality of life and the condition of their units will be greatly improved. And the subsidy tied for this will be what we call a HAP contract. So in HUD lingo, that's a housing assistance payment contract through the voucher Section 8 program. So again, RAD is just a tool that you can move your Section 9 public housing subsidy to the Section 8 housing choice voucher subsidy, which is much more stable. It has much more support for funding in Congress, and it's much more predictable for us so that we can maintain these units and make sure we have the funding that we need to keep providing quality housing. So on the next slide, you can see some pictures of Crestmont. If it's been a while since you've driven around the northwest side. A lot of these were taken around 2008. We did all of the exterior renovations and some interior renovations, particularly the 1 bedrooms, our community building. But we'll be hitting every unit with this RAD conversion and renovation project. So a bit more about the particular scope. The renovations, we are focusing a lot on some things that we were grandfathered in terms of some code requirements, handicap accessibility, bringing those up to current code, also some requirements that come with tax credit deals, project-based vouchers, adding some handicap accessibility units for the visually and hearing impaired, making some major structural repairs. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's about 1/3 of our units haven't been extensively renovated since they were built in the mid to late 60s. So, I mean, imagine a home that many families are living in that hasn't had a lot of updates since the 1960s. This is very, very much needed for modernization, just that, you know, quality of the building materials and also energy efficiency. So furnace, tankless water heaters, all of those things. This funding gives us an opportunity to purchase and install some really efficient systems. Structurally, again, roofs, site lighting, we have some site improvements, sidewalk repairs, those things that will happen. Interior improvements include new flooring. We have a great laminate vinyl tile product that we're using. New kitchen cabinets, countertops. We're adding some things for marketability, like a dishwasher in the family size units, washers and dryers that come with the units. Again, I mentioned some of the higher efficiency furnaces, air conditioners, new windows. We're also thinking, well, we will be converting some of our 3-bedroom townhome units. We see a lower demand for 3-bedroom units, but a really high demand for 1-bedroom units. So we are reconfiguring some units so that the 3-bedroom townhomes have a 1-bedroom unit on the first floor and the second floor. Again, we have a very, very long wait list as a lot of demand for 1-bedrooms increases across our region and the country. So this allows us to reconfigure those units to help meet the market demand.
Amber, if I can interrupt for just a second, we're getting some background noise. Could everybody check and make sure that they're muted, please? Thank you.
Okay, it might help if I put in my headphones too. You can do that. Okay. I'll also note we have a community building. It's across the street from our main office. And this project funding also allows us to do an extensive renovation. We're close to doubling it in size, adding office space for resident services. Our very active resident council will have an office in the renovated community building. It's really exciting because we'll have more space to offer, you know, more services like adult basic education, food pantry, ability for some of our seniors to socialize, you know, looking forward to the day it's safe to do that in person. So really excited about that piece of the project as well. Relocations, all the residents will be relocated on site and hopefully for no more than 60 to 90 days, depending on the you know, the type of unit and the extensiveness of the renovation work. And all those relocation costs are paid for by the project and the housing authority. So lastly, we don't intend to create new jobs, but 10 jobs will be retained. So that's it for the scope of the project. I'll turn it over. Chris, I think you're going to talk a little bit more about the technical aspects of the bonds.
Yes, thanks, Amber. And I think Amber really did a good job summarizing kind of the high-level points of the RAD conversion process and what the program's about. You know, conversion from the Section 9 to the Section 8 platform. And it really creates an opportunity to pump new and different types of dollars into our public housing stock. So I think we can go, if Larry has the screen, to the next slide. So if you can see it, this slide is meant to be kind of a visual representation of the bond and credit structure. And it's really meant to drive home the point, a point that Tyler made initially about the city's real conduit nature of the bond issuance process. So this is very similar, and to the folks that we met with on the EDC when we were speaking with you guys about Reverend Butler and the Walnut Woods project, you probably recognize this slide for sure. So at the bottom of the structure, you have your borrower entity, the Crestmont borrower. IHCDA awards credits to the borrower, which the borrower monetizes through the syndication process. So that's to the right of the screen. You'll see the flow of dollars there. And to the left of the slide, this is the portion of the structure where the city is really acting as the conduit. So the city issues the bonds. The bond purchaser provides proceeds that the city then lends to the borrower that ultimately are the dollars that go to the renovations that we're targeting for this particular project. If there's no questions on that structure, we can go to the process and talk about some indemnity language and indemnity concepts for the city. So on the next slide, this is kind of a lot of different steps that we will be taking, consolidated down into a 4-step process. So, you know, you were generous enough to have us with you today, and so we're in step 1 of the inducement process. So there's an inducement resolution that's been included in your packet, and that's what we're here discussing today. The inducement is required for the tax credit application related to the project that will be submitted to IHCDA, and it really is kind of a linchpin for IHCDA starting its underwriting and evaluation process for the project. Next, and you know, some of these steps 2 and 3 will occur before we're back before the city in step 4, but step 2 we'll negotiate some bond terms, draft bond documents that you know, city participants will be part of the distribution group to kind of see the documents and the structure of the transaction coming together over the coming months. So Bloomington Housing Authority and others will kind of select their structure, their lending institutions, tax credit investors, and perform some due diligence during the step 2. Step 3, IHCDA will hopefully award volume and tax credits to the project, bond volume and tax credits. And then step 4, we'll come back to the city through the EDC and its council with some more final forms or the initial forms and substantially final forms of the bond documents to kind of discuss the project and seek its final approvals with the EDC and the city council. And at that time in step 4, the EDC will hold a public hearing, which would afford the public an opportunity to voice any concerns or praises related to the project at that time. So then we can go to the next slide. And this slide's meant to kind of give some high-level overview of some of the characteristics of these types of bonds where we would propose that the city issue. So the bonds would be issued pursuant to 36(7), 11.9, and 12. Part of this statutory process at the state level requires the EDC to render a project report and hold its public hearing, which are a couple concepts that'll take place in stage 4 as referenced in the previous slide. And at that time, the EDC would consider an ordinance that it would consider proposing that the council adopt that particular ordinance. So the magic language, as Tyler likes to point out, is these bonds are not payable from taxes, and they're not a general obligation of the city. The debt is payable solely from the revenues of the project, and the bonds will not have an impact on the city's constitutional debt limit or bank qualified limit either. And you know, finally, just to kind of drive the point home, the city's really acting as a conduit in its role as a conduit bond issuer. So really no ongoing obligation or administration requirements from the city's perspective, and all tax covenants, payments, and indemnities will be reflected in the bond documents, and the city would be indemnified really in all respects as outlined in those bond documents. So happy to take any questions, and we can direct any of the questions to the appropriate presenter. But if you have any questions at this time, let us know.
Yeah, and I just add real quick that the inducement resolution has a not to exceed amount right now of 30 million for the bonds. Chris pointed it out, but the inducement's just kind of the initial step. We'll be back for final approval, hopefully, and this really just triggers that application review by the state, and also if there's expenditures ongoing right now at the project, those can be reimbursed with bond proceeds once this is adopted. So thanks to Chris and Amber for carrying the heavy load there.
Thanks, Amber, Chris, and Tyler. Any questions, comments?
I've got a couple quick questions, if you don't mind. So just so I understand, is this structurally completely identical to the Butler and Walnut Woods RAD conversion, or are there any differences other than the units?
Structurally, they are different. So Reverend Butler was almost like a manufactured turnkey kind of development in the 70s, and Walnut Woods was built in the 80s. So they're different architecturally, but we are using the same finishes. So the same flooring, cabinets, furnaces, all of those types of things for the Crestmont renovation. But I'm not an architect in the details on Crestmont. I can't
Actually, I'm sorry. Actually,
it's very sturdy, but structurally the inside needs some help.
I'm sorry. I was actually referring to bond structure. I'm sorry.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, no, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you, but
yeah, there should be a different. I think there may be a different tax credit investor here. That'll just be something that plays out in terms of receiving indications of pricing and letters of intent from different investors. The actual purchase of the bonds, I think, is going to be similar in that it's going to be a private placement, one large institution or bank purchaser.
okay, thanks. And then also, is there a cap? Oh,
I was going to say not necessarily the same purchaser, but again, probably subject to interest rate, bidding and competitive seeking those types of responses.
okay. And then also, is there a cap on the total amount of private activity bonds that the city can be a conduit for?
Not at the city level. It's at the state level. The state gets about 700 million, a little north of that each year in private activity cap, and automatically 28% of that goes to multifamily housing bonds.
Okay.
So that would be the limitation.
Okay, but no particular limit that the city needs to worry about
Right.
in combining. Okay.
Right.
And then Amber, I'm curious about the increase in demand for one bedroom. What do you know? What's that about?
Well, we typically see a population that's maybe in the 40 to 50-year-old range that most frequently apply for one-bedroom units. So sometimes folks on a fixed income because they're older, so single seniors. And I think that's really kind of the baby boomers and that demographic nationally. I mean, there's a huge demand for one bedrooms everywhere. But we do get a lot of folks on fixed income, and more than likely they're seniors or a couple that would be eligible for just a one bedroom unit. Also accessibility, a lot of the one bedrooms are accessible with a wheelchair, and there's a lot of accommodations that are often needed within that one bedroom applicant.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? If we don't have any, do we have a motion for approval of the resolution?
Move we approve resolution 21-01.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
And of course, the way you do this is you ask if there's any discussion on the motion and the second. And you wait what you consider a reasonable amount of time, and then you say, I guess we're ready to vote. So unless I hear an objection, I guess we're ready to vote on the motion to approve resolution 21-01. And once again, we'll go around the horn and I'll try to remember everybody that's present. So I see Jeff first. So Jeff, I think you know how to indicate
Yes.
affirmative or, okay.
Yes.
And then we'll go to Malcolm,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and Vanessa.
Yes.
And I also vote yes. So once again, I think we've got unanimity. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks to Amber and Chris and Tyler for walking us through this. And Jane, may I ask you how you want to go about getting signatures on this? Because I noticed all 5 of us.
Yeah, I'll talk with Larry. I think we can probably route it through DocuSign.
Okay, great.
But yeah, you'll hear from us via
Okay,
email.
fantastic. I like to hear that you have DocuSign. That's a lot easier than signing and PDFing and all that kind of stuff. So appreciate
Better than
that.
COVID
Yes.
sign.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you. We are ready to move to the other item, the next item, which is the EDC annual report. Jane, I'm going to ask you to lead us through that.
Yeah. I think I'm going the wrong direction on my slides. Sorry. So you've
If you want
found.
to talk a little bit while you're searching for it.
Oh no, I'm there. You've found this memo in your packet, which summarizes our structure and our activities from 2020. So background is that we have 5 members whose terms last 5 years. Kurt, Malcolm, and Vanessa were all mayoral appointments. Jeff, you are a Monroe County Council appointment, and Kate, you're here on behalf of the Bloomington Common Council. We list the staff who support the EDC. Right, and in addition to the statutory responsibilities, duties, powers, and authorities set out by Indiana Code 36-7-12, the EDC makes recommendations to the Bloomington Common Council regarding applications for tax abatement. So these are our primary duties. In 2020, we were not super busy with abatements. We presented our annual abatement report in July, which I included in this packet. No new abatements were recommended during 2020. I guess technically we had an application, but it wasn't really considered because it was already in process. The project was already in process. So the EDC amended and approved updated abatement guidelines in December. Those will be in the queue for Common Council. I think they'll be next month. I think that request to go before council was lost in the holiday shuffle, so that should be up shortly. In 2020, EDC did not issue any new bond inducements. However, the City Council authorized economic development bonds for the renovation of Walnut Woods and Reverend Butler Apartments, which we've, of course, just discussed. The second, well, it's a different project. It's Crestmont, but another BHA project. The total amount for those authorized for the bonds was 11 million. Those bonds were authorized by the City Council in Ordinance 2002. And then I included our report, which we poured over last summer, which seems like a million years ago. So I think it wasn't a super busy year in terms of projects project volume, but impact was high, I think, working with CHA. So that's all I have. Does anyone have questions about the report?
I just wanted to note, it shows me as a secretary. I'm not the secretary.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Vanessa, you are the vice president and Malcolm is the secretary. We'll get that corrected on the final report.
I'm
that
so
gets submitted to
sorry.
council.
Thanks for,
That's okay. Yep,
yeah,
thank you.
thanks for pointing that out. My typo.
And I would just note this is kind of a follow-on. So previously the EDC had to submit an annual report to the state that was just simply copied to the Common Council. It was done by a state form. So this is kind of the rough information, just kind of summarizing the year's activities. We've decided to include the tax abatement report. So as you know, the EDC is required to give 2 reports a year. One's the annual report, one's the tax abatement report. Because Jane's tax abatement report is so outstanding and detailed and covered everything that basically the EDC did last year, we thought that would be helpful to just expound upon this kind of the brief summary that we're trying to give them, the 1-pager that includes everything that you all did. But this is required by Indiana code. We just have to submit it to the Common Council within 30 days of our first meeting. So here we are.
Any other comments or questions? We've noted the flip with regard to vice president and secretary, but anything else? There's no action per se on this. This is more of an information item, I'm assuming. Yes?
That's right. We just wanted you all to be aware of what was going to be submitted to council. Actually, you should remember most of the activities from last year. If you don't, feel free to give me a call. I can refresh your memory on anything that we've done in the past year.
Thanks, Larry. And Jane, thanks for putting together such a nice memo and, as Larry said, a complete report. So.
Okay, easy peasy. Yeah.
So we're finished with that. The next thing is to remind people about the need for each of us to submit a conflict of interest form. Is that correct? Yes.
Correct. Yeah, and I talked with Larry. I can circulate that via DocuSign as well. So I'll follow up with that after the meeting to try to make that a little easier to deal with.
And just to challenge you, I've already got mine submitted. I did the old copy in PDF last night.
Oh,
so
nice.
And already got acknowledgement that it's been received. So you guys are behind. Come on, get going.
Thanks, Kurt.
And then the final part of new business is election of officers for 2021, I presume.
Yeah, that's correct as well. Larry, I don't know if you have anything to say about that, or if we kind of dive in to see what how the commission would like to handle it.
Oh yeah, there's just one of 2 ways that it could typically be handled. If all the officers are happy with their positions, you can potentially pass the entire slate again. If we would like, anyone's interested in these offices or anyone does not want to serve in their current position, now's the time to step aside and allow somebody else to vote. But those are the 2 ways that you can, depending on the motion by any member, vote for your executive committee. And there are 3 positions, as we've painfully learned. We keep trying to make Vanessa secretary for some reason. We just really want her to be our official recorder of all the meetings. I have no idea why. Vanessa is our vice president, Kurt's our president, and Malcolm is our secretary. So.
Now I will say that I'm willing to continue to serve as president, but I'm also very willing to allow somebody else if they aspire to do so. So.
I move the slate.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Thank you for serving.
And we're going to get this right, Larry? We're going to get, and Jane, we're going to get Vanessa as the vice president.
Correct.
Malcolm
Yeah.
secretary.
Vanessa just lives down the street from me, so I imagine she'll come let me know in
Good.
person.
Vanessa, it's time to go talk to Larry about this at a safe physical distance, of course. So, all right. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the same slate as 2020 for 2021, and I guess any discussion? So I guess we go around and vote again. So let's do it a different way. Let's start with Malcolm
I vote aye.
and Vanessa,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and Jeff.
Yes.
Gosh, what an easygoing group. We're all unanimity reigns today. This is good. Very good. This is actually a very good group, so I appreciate working with all of you. And the next thing is anything additional for the good of the order before we adjourn.
I just want to register my disappointment that we have to vote individually, because then we can't vote like I used to in Beta Theta Pi, which was you'd have the question and we all go aye, all opposed, nay.
Well, if you want to do that, Malcolm, we can do it. Right? Now that we've officially voted.
No, it's all right.
All right. Jane is very efficient. She has our next meeting listed, so we make sure it's on our calendars. It's February 10th. Right.
Yep.
And
You there? Yep.
I'm looking forward to seeing everybody February 10th, and we'll be that much closer to pitchers and catchers going to spring training for baseball, and that means spring is right around the corner in my book. So, anything else? Good seeing y'all. Jane, thank you. Alex, good to see you. You didn't have to do much. You got Jane. Jane's very capable to do it. That's good.
the way I like it.
Actually, one quick thing for the good of the order. I had a colleague who took an elderly woman in for vaccination and said the process was extremely efficient and very pleasant. So just that for the good of the order.
And that's the county health departments, basically with the help of obviously IU Health and other organizations. So
yeah, Jeff, if you would tender our congratulations and our thanks for the outstanding job that Penny and others have been doing in managing that.
I will do that. My mother-in-law got her vaccine on Monday and said it was just the model of efficiency. So
yeah.
Well, if I can add, Malcolm, just a little EDC kudos on this. If you recall, the EDC a while back approved a tax abatement for Catalent, and the Moderna vaccine,
right,
as well as the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, are being made in that expanded facility. So you all actually have had a direct role in saving us all from this nightmare.
And I noticed as I drive over on Patterson Drive that parking lot is incredibly full these days. So it's good. I mean, I think about that every time I drive by that Catalent's helping with the vaccine. So, and hopefully by the 10th, some of us that are in the meeting today will actually be vaccinated, at least the first round. So let's keep our fingers crossed we get these out pretty quickly.
Right.
Indeed.
All right. Good to see everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year. Bye-bye.